afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. It's actually Sunday, April 13th, and you know what that means. It's time for the High Risk Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, finally rested and relaxed from Dynasty from last Sunday. It's Jeremy Pierce. Welcome, one and all. Check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, and of course the 215 on Twitter. And today's show, there's been this discourse about main events. So we're going to talk about today what makes a main event. It's that simple. But for now, you know what's next. So just go on and hit my music. Right, this list is very simple. These are the pay-per-views, the 5 pay-per-views that I'm most looking forward to for the rest of the year. And of course, number 5, Forbidden Door 2025. AEW has carved out themselves a nice niche with the Forbidden Door pay-per-view, going from just AEW versus New Japan to now featuring Ring of Honor, AAA, and Stardom. This has become a bright spot for AEW with the many bright spots that they have. I am very much looking forward to seeing what kind of card they can come up with this year. Number 4, this is all speculation, but Evolution. The Evolution pay-per-view was here and then it was gone, and we just didn't think we would get another one, but there's been word talking about we might get it this year, and the women could use it. The roster is extremely large and a lot of them don't get featured on TV. So if you combine the main roster, if you combine NXT, even feature some of the Evolve and ID talent on the pre-show, do a pre-show, Evolution will be something that many will be clamoring for year in and year out. Number 3, All In, the annual big show taking place at the big stadiums going down this year in Texas. And with the stories that we got coming out of Dynasty, that we got coming out for the rest of this month, All In looks to be shaping up to a spectacular show, almost close to being a sellout. This will show that AEW can actually compete and sell out big stadiums. Number 2, Double or Nothing. Right before All In, we have Double or Nothing. For many that don't know, Double or Nothing is actually AEW's Wrestlemania, not All Out. And I know it's easy to get that confused, but Double or Nothing has year in and year out been a fantastic show. And now that they've started to move away from Vegas, the event can really breathe just a little bit more, and everything going to evolve with Swerve, with Hangman, with the Bucks, with the Death Riders, with Ospreay. It's shaping up to be a fantastic show. Number 1, Money in the Bank. It is very simple why I look forward to this event every year. Who are they going to put the briefcase on? Who are they going to give the shot to? And ultimately, the story coming out of it is, how will their run be? Will they successfully cash in? And will their run be successful? Tiffany Stratton has done fantastic. Last year, Damian Priest did as well. So we shall see what comes about with Money in the Bank. It is always a great event. But we'll be right back. The spotlight is back on once again. It is shining on one Chelsea Green, and it's here because this woman can take anything given to her and turn it into gold. Period. And I'm talking about Chelsea because for some stupid reason, she does not have a match at WrestleMania. That doesn't make sense to me. Go check out the last video of Let's Talk About It on all my platforms, and you'll see exactly what I mean. This woman has become your first ever Women's United States Champion, and she has turned it into gold with the reign, with the Secret Service, and yet you can't feature one of your most over stars on WrestleMania. I don't get it. Not only that, you don't establish the championships, you bring in the Women's Intercontinental Championships, and then WrestleMania comes around, and for the first show that they can be on, they're not on. I don't like it. It doesn't make sense, and they deserve better. Chelsea Green deserves better. We'll be right back. What makes a main event? This question, this topic has been batting around for many, many years, and more recently it's been coming up. And I think it's time that we finally talk about it. Because what truly makes a main event, right? So why is this coming up again now? And it stems from Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble. We are in the middle of WrestleMania season. We are only, 1 week away from WrestleMania. And when Jey won the Royal Rumble, many assumed he would get a main event spot. So what is a main event? It's the last match segment you will see on the show, right? And for many, many years, the winner of the Royal Rumble would get the main event spot of WrestleMania. And that was all well and good. That was then. This is now. And that was right. That felt appropriate. But now when you have two Rumbles, men and a woman, when WrestleMania is now 2 nights, the idea of what should main event becomes blurred, right? So there were many people, shocked that Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble, because people were fantasy booking John Cena winning the Royal Rumble or winning the Chamber. And so here we are, Jey Uso wins the Royal Rumble. He's clearly going to face Gunther, because you're not doing Jey versus Cody, right? So people go, well, does Jey get the main event of, maybe night 1 of WrestleMania? And the answer is no. I want to point you back to something that Roman Reigns said. This was during the beginning of the Bloodline storyline during the pandemic. Roman said he either wants to open the show or close the show. Why is that? If you open a show, you're what the fans see. You get the crowd going. You can be the starting point, the bright spot. And if you're closing the show, you're the main event. You're what the fans will remember. Now, if you're on TV, right, you either open the show, you're in the middle of the show, or you're at the end of the show. Because if you're in the middle of the show, that's the top of the hour, right? You're right there at the end of the first hour, beginning of the second hour, and that works. Wrestling puts on a lot of things in that middle section. So for the longest time, we've had this old school thinking that the championship should main event, right? The championship of your promotion should be the main event. And that was fine. That was true. There were many, many times, which we'll talk about a little bit later, where the championship should not have been the main events. And you have to adapt. You have to adjust. Your mentality on all of that has to change. So let's talk about a few times of what should have been the main event. And since we're in the middle of WrestleMania season, let's stick for the most part with WrestleMania. And I'll give you one example outside of WrestleMania season. And we'll stick in another one outside of the WWE. WrestleMania 18. The main event of that show was Triple H, Chris Jericho. And you can understand why. Jericho was your first ever undisputed champion after unifying the WCW and WWF World Championships. Triple H came back from injury. He had won the Royal Rumble. So obviously he was facing Jericho, right? But what was the other match on that card? What was the match that should have been the main event? The Rock versus Hulk Hogan. No matter what, that match could have been first on the card, nothing would have topped it afterwards. Not a single damn match. Period. And yet, we got Triple H versus Chris Jericho. And the match was fine. The story was fine. For some reason, Stephanie was managing Jericho going against her husband, whatever. But it was The Rock versus Hulk Hogan, #1. And it's an all-time classic. It's not a great wrestling match at all, but it's the crowd, it's the moment, it's the anticipation, it's the build-up that puts it over the top. It should have been the main event. And then we get to the streak. There are many times in the streak where the match was fine where it was at in the card. But the WWE kind of learned their lesson. Yes and no. WrestleMania 25. The main event of that WrestleMania was Triple H versus Randy Orton. It is one of the worst main events in the history of WrestleMania, not because of the competitors involved, but because of what the story dictated should have happened in the match. And it was an absolute boring, plotting match. The things Randy Orton did to get into that match, the match should have been a bloodbath. And we got a straight up wrestling match. Whereas Triple H and Randy Orton were the main event. The Undertaker was facing Shawn Michaels in the streak. And for the uninitiated, the streak was Undertaker being undefeated up to a certain point at WrestleMania. That's like wrestling in the Super Bowl. That's like being in the Super Bowl and never losing. So this was their first match, right? It was clearly should have been the main event. And you weren't expecting it to be great, but it was great. Because the following year at WrestleMania 26, guess what main evented? Oh, yeah, The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. So the WWE learned their lesson. Then we get to, so he had 2 back-to-back matches with Shawn Michaels. Then we get to WrestleMania, 27, right? First match versus Triple H. And it wasn't the main event. What was the main event? John Cena versus The Miz. What The Rock, he was like the host and he ended up restarting the match, whatever. And I get it. Rock, Miz, Cena. This was leading up to The Rock versus Cena for the following year. But you learned your lesson with the first Shawn Michaels Triple H match. First Shawn Michaels Undertaker match. Following year was the main event. And then you get to WrestleMania 28. And now, here's where I can understand why it wasn't the main event. Because it was the first ever Rock Cena match. Now that's okay. You could have gone either way with Rock Cena or the second Triple H Undertaker match with Shawn Michaels as a special guest referee. So that's fine. Bad Blood 2024 of 2024, last year. So Drew McIntyre and CM Punk were in a straight up blood feud. I think Drew McIntyre should have won the feud, but whatever. Okay? So they face each other. Bad Blood 2024 in a Hell in a Cell match. A fantastic contest. But what was the main event of that show? It was Cody and Roman facing the Bloodline. And I get it. First things first, I don't like that WWE put on 5 matches on this card. WWE's been very, very lazy with their events. But not only was CM Punk, Drew McIntyre not the main event, they were the opening show. Now listen, I said you want to be first or you want to be last. But here's the thing. Nothing after that Hell in a Cell match came close to topping the Hell in a Cell match. You could have opened with Cody and Roman versus the Bloodline. That is great. And now you're like, well, Cody can't open the show. He's the champion, right? No. It doesn't matter. The best story going into that show was CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. Hell in a Cell 2020. Yeah. Hell in a Cell 2020. This was during the pandemic, right? And what perchance was the main event of that show? What was the main event of Hell in a Cell 2020? It was Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre in a Hell in a Cell match for the WWE Championship. And here's the thing about Hell in a Cell 2020. It featured 3 Hell in a Cell matches. The first one, the match that opened the show, mind you, they had a pre-show match. The match that opened the show was the Hell in a Cell Aqua match, Roman versus Jay. That's fine. That didn't need the main event because that was the start of the Bloodline feud. It was a beautiful, beautiful story. But Randy versus Drew didn't need the main event. What was that other Hell in a Cell match that ran smack dab in the middle of that card? Sasha Banks versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. That had the best story built off of years and years of feuds, rivalries, friendship, and love. That should have been the main event. Noticing a trend here. Backlash 2023. Where are we at? We are in Puerto Rico. And this was a show that was really, really odd. Why? So you had Bianca Belair defending the Raw, I think it was the Raw Women's Championship versus Io. It's great. That's cool. Bianca was getting booed. The main event of that show was Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. And you're figuring, well, okay, it's Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar. But you also had Bad Bunny in a San Juan street fight taking on Damian Priest in Puerto Rico. The entrance, everything was beautiful. Why was that not the main event? And years later down the line, they'd be noticed, okay, maybe we should have the hometown hero being the main event. I mean, yes, we just talked about Bad Blood because it's in Atlanta, that's where Cody's from. So I get it. Can't contradict yourself. Elimination Chamber in Perth. Rhea Ripley. But you had the biggest star in the music industry who's been a fantastic wrestler up until this point. And he wasn't the main event. Nothing after that topped that match. Nothing. You need to learn. If we go to AEW, this one is recent from this year. The Hollywood ending. AEW Revolution in Los Angeles. Toni Storm, Mariah May, the Hollywood ending. One of the best rivalries of the modern decade. And you even called it the Hollywood ending, meaning it should probably be last. And the main event was Cope versus Mox. I'm cool. And yes, Tony, Mariah main evented Grand Slam, but you can main event back-to-back pay-per-views. Usually, AEW gets it right. This was one of the few times they got it wrong. Because, again, nothing topped that match. When the match was over, the posing of Tony and Mariah on the ramp, The screen saying the end would have been the perfect way to end the show. And yet we had 3 matches after that and nothing came close. So there's what should have been. How about recently when it's done right? WrestleMania 37, night 1, Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, the first black woman to main event of WrestleMania. Done right. It was over. Nothing could have topped that match. And it was a beautiful, amazing match. WrestleMania 38. This is one of the few times where you could have gone back and forth, but ultimately made the right choice because Rhea Ripley had won the Royal Rumble and she was challenging Charlotte. And I'm like, okay, the woman got a main event. Because the woman have only had 2 main events ever. But this was also, come to find out, Stone Cold's final match. Stone Cold had to main event WrestleMania. It was Stone Cold's final match. So that's when it's done right. Forbidden Door 2023. Many great matches on that card. Many great championship matches on that card. But the main event was the dream match. Bryan Danielson versus Kazuchika Okada. That was the right pick to be the main event. That can't even be debated. Yes, Danielson got hurt during the match, so kind of knocked down the rating, but we got the better match later at Wrestle Kingdom. And then Revolution 2024, Sting's final match. Nothing on that card. And mind you, Revolution is usually one of AEW's best pay-per-views. Nothing was going to top Sting's final match. Going up against the Young Bucks. Sting team with Darby Allin. Ending his AEW career undefeated. Beautiful. Perfect way to end the show. So, what have we learned, ladies and gentlemen? The best story should be the main event. Period. Not what championship is being held. Not who the star is. Whatever the best story is. If you look at last year, WrestleMania 40, night 1 and night 2 was headlined by the Bloodline story because it was the best story. And we had Bayley Io on that show. We had Gunther versus Sammy on that show. We had Drew and Seth with Punk involved on that show, but yet the Bloodline was to be the main event. The best story should dictate whatever the main event will be. And if we look at WrestleMania going this year, what is the best story? Honestly, I couldn't tell you. Now, you know that Cena and Cody will be the main event on night 2 because it's Cena's, final run, obviously. But if you break down the entire card, what truly is the best story that would be deserving of the main event spot? I don't know. And you kind of have to default to Cena and Cody. And it sucks because the women don't have a main event again. So we have what should have been, what was done right, and how it should be. Take these steps, listen to this, digest this, let it soak in your mind, and be ready to always call out a company when they don't get it right. Because now you know what should be the main event. But that's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Look on the screen what we got coming up. WrestleMania, baby. This weekend. Check out the socials, Charismatic Creations on Facebook and YouTube, Charismatic_Creations52 on Instagram, the 215 on Twitter. We got some stuff coming up. I'm working. Get the website open. We're going to do a bunch of things. But it's tough, but we'll get there. Anna J, Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander, Gigi Dolan, Bailey, and Isla Dawn. Holla at your boy. Peace.